Want another name? Devil May Cry.
Alright, so we just finished Resident Evil 2. So, figured let's do another Resident Evil game. Making a decent chunk out of the Resident Evil series. I've done a good handful of them now.
Yes.
So I figured let's do Resident Evil 3.4. I don't know if that might be the best way
3.1.2
to consider it, but also Devil May Cry 5 is coming out, and I'm pretty fucking excited about that. And this was on accident, but we just watched the Nintendo Direct today, and
yes.
A new fucking Platinum game is coming out.
Platinum game is
with Hideki Kamiya as like a title figure.
Name dropping.
Let's rock, baby.
Resident Evil, the franchise that accidentally spawned 7 other franchises.
Yeah, Resident Evil has like through its failure spawned like 5 other franchises.
Entire franchises.
And an entire game genre. So I deliberated on this. I beat the game on like hard mode so that I could actually like replay it, because this game's weird. But I decided, nah, we're just gonna do a new game on normal, because I've heard people say, like, oh, it feels like this game was designed to be played on the hardest difficulty, and they scaled it back. It's like, no, those are hard. They're like you die in, like, 2 hits hard. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, not fun at all. So we're doing normal mode. I feel like after... I like how the subtitles are completely unnecessary for this scene.
It does make it a lot easier to read, doesn't it?
Yeah, this game originally did not have subtitles. This is the HD re-release. This is the next gen re-release of an HD re-release, actually.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo Deluxe Edition arcade version.
Yeah, this I'm gonna talk about it, but this version of the game is actually really fucked up and broken in a lot of different ways. But it did add subtitles, something that no release of Resident Evil 4 has ever done.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Your right hand comes off.
Originally, in the original game, it didn't have subtitles unless it was like the boss characters. The main characters, like Dante and everyone. I like how it's Trish's silhouette, even though he hasn't met her yet.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, quote unquote.
Sorry, we closed at 9. Again, no password.
What kind of strip joint closes at 9?
I took someone else's motorcycle and crashed through your front door, by the way.
Hey, you gotta replace that door.
Which actually made it really hard to understand what the fuck anyone was saying, because this was back in the day where Capcom just voiced everything in English and then released it in Japan with Japanese subtitles. So there were Japanese subtitles so that people could understand what the fuck these English-speaking characters were saying.
You know what I mean.
But then they finally added real subtitles.
You're the man who lost a mother and a brother to evil 20 years ago. The son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta, Mr. Dante.
Are you asking me or telling me?
Yeah, are you informing me, or...?
In this business, a lot of you
Are you just doing exposition?
if I kill each one that comes, eventually I should hit the jackpot sooner or later.
So, like I mentioned,
liberal use of quotes.
These subtitles were added for this HD re-release. So, in the year of our Lord, like 2015 or something, whenever this came out on the PS3, they said, yeah, these subtitles can go in. They greenlit these subtitles.
Yep.
In, like, the 2010s.
You once again enter the world of survival horror. ... way up in the
Time to go to
middle
work,
of
guys.
the letter space.
Why did the motorcycle just freeze in the air?
Why didn't you smash the guitars?
So in a long tradition that you will see,
Ow. Ow.
yeah, Dante just gets impaled by a sword.
It's fine.
It happens more than once.
Oh god.
In-
Intestines or stomach.
Don't worry, that is not the worst way that he does
through
that.
his liver.
There will be more offensive examples of him taking a sword he has been impaled with out of himself.
Yeah, I call it the pancreas popper.
My name is Trish. I'm wearing sunglasses for plot-relevant reasons.
Because if only it were a platinum game.
Oh no, only now with your sunglasses off do I realize that you look like my mom.
Oh, you are fucking Clark Kent.
You're so fucking stupid, Dante.
May I ask you about your Inferno?
20 years ago, Mundus, the Emperor...
Mundus.
Mundus.
Not Mundus.
No, Mundus.
Fucking reboot-ass piece of shit.
His powers were sealed by Sparta.
it's on Neptune
He's
here.
attempting to gain control of the human world once again.
After 20 years? Like, that is not nearly enough time.
Ooh.
Mallet Island. Pronounced Malay Island.
Nope.
It's either Malay or Malay. It's not... God damn it. So herein, we see the beginning of a Resident Evil game.
Haha.
We have our male protagonist and our female
The
protagonist.
castle is above
They
this
will now
place.
split up at the beginning of this game and explore this abandoned, haunted locale.
Where you can't go out the front door because there's a dog. Could have just walked around the door. I
With
guess.
a fixed camera angle.
And tank controls.
No one who has... I can't turn back now.
Stop trying to go through this
No
door.
one who has entered this door has ever come back alive. So, already you can see that this is just the
was
hardest
Resident
Resident Evil ever. There's no tank controls, but very, like, almost from minute one, you can be like, yeah, that's some Resident Evil shit right there.
Ugh.
And like Resident Evil, there's a lot of, like, flavor text for stuff that you can just interact with. So a lot of people, like, when they do this game, they just, like, bum rush through it super fast because it's the Devil May Cry. But in my heart, this is a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take it a little bit slower and, like, try and get some of the fun... Because there's some fun ones. Because the flavor text is actually Dante's, like, thoughts. So there is, like, some decent characterization to the flavor text as well. First, let's also go through the inventory here, because already we got some stuff. We got Amulet, a memento from Dante's mother. In the back is the engraving Virgil and Dante. The most PS2-ass texture thing.
Yep.
And then we got Force Edge, a memento of Dante's father, Sparta. So he's got something from Daddy and something from Mommy. And we got Ebony and Ivory, his guns. They look so fucking dope. Probably a reference to Helsing. The cat is gonna run over here and trip over the fucking wire.
Hookman demo.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about that. So, there's a lot of interesting things to talk about with Devil May Cry. The original Devil May Cry, the game titled DMC.
Devil May Cry.
Oh, hey, you didn't freak out. I'm
No.
actually impressed.
For once.
So, this game has a mission structure, where every mission's like, do the thing. But I want you to imagine this game without the mission, like, breaking up the chapters here. And just imagine that you're playing this game from beginning to end seamlessly without any mission breaks. And I want you to feel how Resident Evil it fucking is, as you realize that.
Curse of the Bloody Puppies. Huh. Already it's Resident Evil.
Yep. So we got the music here. We got the main foyer in the Spencer estate. Fixed camera angle.
Because we didn't know any other way to do it.
Yeah, very, like, again, this is before Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil 4 didn't even have, like, a real camera.
Yeah.
God damn it. Also, there's just secrets out the ass with this game. So, Devil May Cry, the original one, is a game that's more important than it is a good game anymore.
That's what it's called, Devil May Cry, the original one.
Yeah, the original one. Because there's Devil May Cry 1, 2, there's Devil May Cry, then the DMC 2, 3, 4, 5's coming out, and then there's DMC Devil May Cry, with a lowercase m for some fucking reason.
Some reason.
Why? Anyway. That game's bad. There we go. God damn it. Okay. So,
lovely tile work.
why the fuck would you do a fixed camera angle with an action game with platforming sections? Anyway,
Yeah. Oh
so,
my god,
like,
yeah.
it hasn't fucking aged particularly well. It's still fine. It's still a great game, but it's definitely, like, hard to go back to.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where,
It's historical.
yeah, it's historically, it's more important than it is
Yes. Good.
very good. It's not a bad. It's not bad to play.
You need to consider its context.
Yes, that's very important. This is definitely one of those games where you have to be like, okay, but like, number one, it is the very first game that you could consider to be a character action game. It literally invented a genre. Like, it was, I think Matthew Matosis did a video on it where he talked about, like, if I want to play a game like Devil May Cry, I have a lot to choose from. I could play Bayonetta. I could play one of the innumerable sequels. I could play, Marlo Briggs. There's a lot of character action games now.
Yes.
But back then, when this had just come out, if I wanted to play a game like Devil May Cry, I just had to play Devil May Cry again. There was nothing else like it. That's why you have, like, when you have contrarian fuckheaded idiots like the fucking gaming who are like, oh, they're just hack and slash games, but they have pretty good combat. Like, no! Why are you calling it like its own subgenre? It's just... It's like, yeah, Kiss and fucking Rolling Stones and Nirvana, they're not different genres of music. They're all just bands that play different...
Rock.
Why are you calling these different bands like, oh, metal, rock? It's just music. You're a fucking idiot. Anyway, so take note of this statue. It has 3 eyes, and it's kind of like an angel dude.
Potatoes have a lot of eyes, but triops have 3 eyes.
Keep that in mind. It is important. There's a lot to take note of. Also, this horse having a knight is also important. Look at that spear. And look at what's above us. As, if I can fucking do it. Jesus Christ. This camera. There we go. Look at what's right above us. Keep things in your memory. There's a lot of things already. Number 1, this. Number 2, the statue. Number 3, the other statue. Okay, good. Moving on. So the part of that's interesting to talk about with this game to me is 2 things. Number 1, it's a Resident Evil game.
Yes.
It's interesting to talk about how this is just a fucking Resident Evil game. Because Resident Evil 2, Hideki Kamiya worked on that game under the guiding affluence of the Shinji Mikami. And Resident Evil 2 is a very good game.
The trees are fucking out there, oh my god.
Yeah. Here's more flavor text for you. I can see the castle's garden from the window. Yes, you can, Dante. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can, Dante.
I believe in you. And that was just that wasn't like a game Hideki Kamiya made. If you play Resident Evil 2, you see in the credits it says director Hideki Kamiya. Like that's the first game that's the first game where he's in the credits as director. But no one would ever really consider that a Hideki Kamiya game. That was just sort of a game he cut his teeth on. He got his feet wet, whichever you prefer. There are different people in this world. Some of them say get your feet wet, some of them say cut your teeth. I don't understand
A
it.
third minority says get your balls moist.
Get your balls a little bit moist. Just a little bit. Just a little bit moist.
A little bit.
This is the first game that you would really be able to say this was made by Hideki Kamiya. So there's also that's something worth talking about with it too, is where like you can really see the seeds of Hideki Kamiya's like philosophy and the things he considered to be important as a game designer taking root with this game. The first one is mannequins. These fucking mannequins that... There's a funny... Oh god, I'm already fucking it up.
Oh god.
Oh, I'm already
Oh,
terrible.
God.
Dull, cool, bravo. Already fucking it up. Already just the worst at video games that there ever has been. Awesome. Shit. Stylish. Right away I got the stylish. Love it. So it's worth talking about, like, A, Resident Evil, B, Hideki Kamiya. Those are the two things that I'm going to be focusing on with when I'm playing this.
Yes.
God damn, I went through the wrong door. It even has door opening animations. Appreciate that shit. Fuck. Yeah. So first of all, I've talked about this more than once actually, but after making Resident Evil 2, Shinji Mikami was like, "Hey kid, you're pretty cool. Go make a new Resident Evil game." And Hideki Kamiya was like, "Aw, gee whiz,
Sir.
senpai." And it was like, "I'm gonna make a Resident Evil game everyone can be proud of." And he started making Resident Evil 4. And they were making the Resident Evil 4 for a while. And then Shinji Mikami came and was like, "So how's that Resident Evil game going?" And he's like, "Come look at the game I was making. It's with Leon from Resident Evil 2. He's gonna be really dope. Come check it out." And Shinji Mikami looked at the game and went, "This isn't fucking Resident Evil. What the fuck is the matter with you? Why did you do this? Why did you make this? This is not the Resident Evil." So also remember this plane. It has a name. I forget what the name is, though.
Tornado.
Yeah. Cute. Pay attention to the tornado in this room here. But no, what happened was Shinji Mikami was like, "Yo, this is a really dope-ass game. This is not Resident Evil, though." What you should do, because this was back in the fucking 90s when no one gave a shit. When no one at Capcom gave a shit. He was like, "Go ahead and keep making this game, but make it your own game. Like, don't say this is... Forget that this is Resident Evil, but, like, make it a new thing. Make it a new intellectual property." Keep in mind, this was back in the day when when they went, "Okay, we're making Resident Evil 2, and they finished it. And then went, "Nah, fuck it," threw it in the fucking trash, and started over. From fucking scratch. And Capcom let them do that shit. So...
They lost all of $2,000.
Yeah, like... the PS2,
expensive.
they still could do that.
Yeah.
Games were still cheap enough to make. That they were like, instead of, like... Because nowadays, they do the fucking opposite.
Yeah.
They'll start making, like, a new game, and be like, "We need to slap a pre-existing intellectual property on this so that it will sell."
Yeah.
They would do the literal exact opposite of what happened with the DMC. That's what happened with the fucking reboot. That's what happened with Prey. They just, like, they started making a game, and then they went, no one's gonna buy this unless it's called something that already exists.
Yeah.
So just call it the new Devil May Cry.
It was the opposite of... Maybe you're getting to the point, I'm beating you to it, but it was the opposite of the trailer we saw today. Where they showed the gameplay and that made you go, "Ooh, I really liked it," and then they said, "Hey, by the way, this is a platinum game by Hideki Kamiya."
Exactly. They just went like, "Yeah, fuck it. Go ahead and make this new intellectual property. We'll drop, like, the budget on a marketing campaign for a game that has to sell people based on absolutely nothing."
Yeah.
We're not gonna...
Nobody even knows what it is.
We're not gonna trick people into getting hyped for this game by burying the lead and be like, "Oh, new game by Shinji Mikami, from the protege of Shinji Mikami, from the mind of the developer of Resident Evil 2. We bring you."
Yeah. I like how every single piece of marketing about Tick Tick Boom has to have by Jonathan Larson, the creator of Rent, on it.
Like, just so you know,
Yeah.
this was made by a guy that made a thing that you care about, so you should care about this automatically.
Yeah.
I just went, yeah, fuck it! Make a fucking brand new ass game.
Fuck it.
Like, don't fucking call this Resident Evil, just make it a new game.
Yeah.
And so they did. And so this game was created. And it invented...
Genesis.
Once again, Resident Evil 4, from the ashes of failed attempts to make Resident Evil 4, we have gotten not only completely brand new games, but entire genres of video games have been created from fucking scratch.
Yep.
Do you like Bayonetta? Do you like The Wonderful 101? Do you like fucking God of War, even? You're wrong to do that, but do you? Guess what? Devil May Cry invented it. And guess what? Devil May Cry was an attempt at making Resident Evil 4.
Do you, for some reason,
like God of War?
And for some reason,
especially
Whoopi
that
Goldberg.
new one. Why the fuck do you like the new one? It's not good. All of you are wrong. All of you are wrong to like Resident Evil. I mean, fuck! To like God of War, the new one, Dad of War, whatever it's fucking called.
Head of War.
Boy. Boy.
He's
but
just a...
He's just a boy. Of all of the fucking Devil May Cry games, and all of them still carry the DNA of Resident Evil in their soul. But all of them, this is the one where you're just playing it and you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, oh, because it's a Resident Evil game. The answer to your question is because it's a Resident Evil game.
Before you ask.
So this game is two things. Number one, it's a Resident Evil game. Number two, it's a Hideki Kamiya game. And if you are aware of Hideki Kamiya's oeuvre, as I am, and have followed his career, as I have, you really start to see where, like, man, Hideki Kamiya has just, like, a very specific stuff that he likes. You know, this is really where you start to see the fingerprints of Hideki Kamiya's interests as a developer starting to, like, become apparent. Because he couldn't really do that when he's just, like, making Shinji Mikami's game. Resident Evil 2 was Shinji Mikami's game and Hideki Kamiya made it. I say that, but, like, again, that's one of those things where, like, especially in Japan, they're like, don't say that that one fucking person made a game. Like, some dozens, if not hundreds of talented people all put their heart and soul into it. Like, what's his name? Warren Spector was like, no, don't say one person made a game. Hundreds of people helped make a game, says Warren Spector, creator of Deus Ex. And it's like, God fucking damn it.
Quote, a second set of quotes, quote Michael Scott.
Yeah. But, like, it is true that, especially with Japanese games, I would say, there is a very, like, auteur element where the director of the game really does have a large influence in everything that goes into the game and everything that's involved with it.
Well, it's like Nintendo. I mean, I highly doubt that Shigeru Miyamoto and all these games that he works on it could be classified as a quote-unquote director.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a word, at least not in English, for what he does with the games he works on.
Yeah, he's a creative driving influence, I would say. Probably.
It's kind of like when Yellow Magic Orchestra broke up, and it was like they didn't break up because they used a weird Japanese word that means, like, growing apart or something like that. So, like, they technically are still together in a weird way, even though they haven't made music in 40 years. But it's like there's some Japanese term for it, but...
So here's, again, the flavor text that feeds into Dante's character. There are books relating to black magic and rituals from all parts of the world. Whatever. And also, I
like books about flowers.
On this bookshelf, for some reason, there was a shotgun.
Oh, yeah. Broken butterfly.
So we have here... God damn it.
Oh, damn it.
We have here a a sawed-off shotgun, because Evil Dead.
Sawed-off should have gone.
And if you shoot it, you can only shoot it, like, so rapidly, because he's gotta cock it with unlimited bullets, by the way. But, if you walk sideways, he can just fire forever if you just walk sideways like that. There's no reload.
Oops.
There's a lot of things in this game. There's a lot of secret little hidden tricks where you're like, oh, they fucked it up. And it's like, no, they didn't. That's on purpose.
No.
That is in there for a fucking reason.
If you strafe with a shotgun in real fucking life, it has unlimited ammo, and you know that.
There are so many things in this game where it's like, is that an accident or did they do that on purpose? Because that's just the kind of asshole Hideki Kamiya is. Because I remind you, Hideki Kamiya is the guy who found a bug in Onimusha, another Resident Evil game, where he was like, oh, when you do a move like this on an enemy, it'll juggle, they'll go in the air and you can just juggle them for eternity. And he's like, that's a mistake for this game, but that's really cool. I'm gonna take that and use it in this other game. He is a man who will find bugs and then go, keep it in.
Scribble.
And again, a very Capcom mentality where, like, they were making Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2, another game that has historical importance but is very bad now. Where they accidentally invented combos. It was a glitch, they kept it in, and now we have combos in fighting games. There's a sculpture of a female in agony with a sword pierced through her chest.
Yeah.
That'll happen. I can hear a voice. I am Alistor. Okay.
Alright, just want to let you know that.
The weak shall give their heart and swear their eternal loyalty to me. Okay, so.
Reverent worship to me.
So.
When every knee is bent, when every head is bowed in reverent worship to me, it won't matter what I'm wearing.
So he has once again been impaled.
Again, he
once
reopened
again,
that wound.
But.
Ooh.
But.
Oh yeah, he's gonna. God damn.
Why? And look at the hilt going through his fucking neck. That went out the back of his head, dude. Why would you do it like that? What is wrong with you?
Want the short list or the long list?
That is the kind of thing you would only do. Like, no one's watching you, you fucking asshole. No one saw that and is going like, oh, so cool.
No, the window. That stained glass is 3,000 years old.
Look at those 2D sprites of glass.
Just
glass
rotating
shards.
around. Always facing the camera.
That is 100%, like, it reminds me of the sprites of the snow in Mario 64.
Oh yeah, they like the trees.
Okay, so, Force Edge is Dante's dad's sword, and we're never, ever, ever
getting back together.
Ever gonna use it ever again, because we're just gonna use Alistair for almost the entire rest of the game. Because Alistair is better in every way.
You're coming off like Alistair Cook, for fuck's sake.
Also, in retrospect, it kind of doesn't make, like... DMC is one of those games where it's like, later things that happened in the series make things that happen in this game not make any fucking sense whatsoever. So why the fuck did Dante bring the Force Edge with him to this place? I'll loop back around to that later on, because it's really fucking weird that he brought that. And you won't understand why until much later. But for now, we've got Alistair. Which is interesting because, again, considering things that happen later on in the series, the way he gets Alistair is kind of bland. It just kind of popped out. Like, apparently a demon voice in his head was like, yo, if you survive me stabbing you, then I guess you can use me.
You stand up into a sword.
Like a normal person.
Yep.
Like a totally normal person will. The weak will give their heart and swear their eternal loyalty to me. So now Alistair's like, you're pretty cool, I guess, and helps him out. And actually, in Beautiful Joe, which started out as a GameCube game, and later got a PS2 port, and one of the things they added to the PS2 port was a mode where you can just play as Dante. And it's like a completely different story mode, where it's Dante going through the world of Beautiful Joe, and all of the cutscenes have like different dialogue and stuff. So in Beautiful Joe, because that is a game also made by Hideki Kamiya, there's a boss in Beautiful Joe called Alistair. And you're like, oh, Alistair, like the sword from Devil May Cry. That's a funny reference. And then you play Dante mode in fucking Beautiful Joe on the PS2, and when you get to that boss with Dante, there's special dialogue where Alistair's like, hey, remember when I was a sword and we beat, like, Mundus together? And we're like, oh shit, like, that's actually the demon that became the fucking devil arm that is this sword that Dante is using during this game. That's fucking so dumb.
It's so stupid.
Because that's what, like, spoilers, but that's how Dante gets all his weapons in the real Devil May Cry games. Like, he'll beat a boss, and that boss will be like, you're pretty cool, and turn into a weapon. And he'll use them as a weapon for the rest of the game.
You know.
But Alistair is just like, yeah, you survived being impaled. I guess you can use me as a weapon.
You stood up through a sword.
Like an
You've earned
idiot.
my respect.